me, Jeff, I'm pretty skeptical on new things coming out, and I feel like I do a lot of research before I ever put anything in my golf schools. And I've had biomechanics. As you know, we were down here in the 90s, we put the biomechanics in. I thought that was really good. When Dr. Neil being down here since 2004, with a PhD in biomechanics, so that's been good. But then Terry Hashimoto stopped in and talked to him. Then I asked him to come by and do a demonstration outside for all of my staff last winter, and he blew everyone out of the water. It was just so great. He developed a company called BodiTrak, and it's a mapping system for how weight moves in your body, linear motion in the body, and rotary motion, because it's measuring your weight back and forth. I don't want to get into too much of that. I've got a lot of questions, but Terry, I want to welcome you to golf school with myself and Jeff Warne. We're thrilled to have you on today. And also I want to mention our phone number, 866-469-0026. Any of our listeners really want to learn something today about how weight moves in the golf swing, or how you build power in your golf swing. Terry Hashimoto is one of the smartest guys I've talked to, Jeff, in the golf industry. Terry, thanks for being on the show.
Hey Jim, thank you very much, Jeff. Great to be with you, and I really have a lot to be thankful myself too. And I'd be remorse without saying thanks to Rob Golden and Andrew Frank, who really helped me put everything together. Their company was behind this 100%, and John Thorpe, these guys are just amazing. So thanks very much for allowing me to be here.
Well, what does BodiTrak do?
Well, BodiTrak, we measure the vertical forces in two directions. We capture that data and we display it on a trace called the center of pressure trace. And then we actually measure that in real time so that we can then measure your weight distribution in percentages of pressure constantly throughout your swing. So, the obvious question is, how do you use that? And the answer is, we want to know what good shots, what positions you have to be in to hit the ball well, which is what you've taught us, actually.
And I'd like to start off right off the bat, because this is something I've written about in the X Factor. You and I've talked about it, but vertical forces in the golf swing. So that's how immediately, I don't know if people are dropping off the line right now, Jeff, but a few minutes ago. Yeah, they shouldn't. No, they shouldn't be, because it's really not that complicated. And I'd like Terry to hit what vertical forces are. Why is it important to the listeners in the golf swing?
Well, it's amazingly easy, which is the greatest thing about learning how to use golf pressure mapping. And golfers think of their weight distribution in terms of pounds. You can look at it that way. We measure it in terms of actual vertical forces, but really, when you're explaining it, the image is that of their weight distribution. So it's okay to have it that way, because we want to know what your weight should be, what the vertical forces should be at the top of your swing. We want to know what your peak velocity is during your transition to the lead foot. And we want to know how much weight, what the vertical forces should be at impact. And we capture that. And this is what's really cool about BodiTrak, is that it's portable. So you can take it outside and you can get real shot data. Not just, you don't have to be inside, but it's good inside too. But you can take it outside, downhill lie, sidehill lie, etc. And the forces, Jim, you know this better than anybody out there in the world today. You have to have a certain amount of weight on your trail foot at the top of your swing, and you have to have a certain amount of your weight on your lead foot at impact. And if you don't, you won't hit the ball very well. It's so simple, it's scary.
Hey Terry, it's Jeff Warne. Welcome to the show.
Hey Jeff, thanks. And
I'm a Bulldog, so I'm a little bit slower. Can you quickly, especially for our listeners, have to explain exactly what you mean by vertical force?
Vertical force, just imagine standing on a mat and gravity going straight down, and we just capture that pressure on the mat. It's literally, when you look up the definition, vertical force, it says it's just a force that's applied on the ground. That's it. It's that simple.
Well, now I'm up to speed.
Yeah.
Well, and then the other thing, Terry, is the interesting thing about vertical forces for me is as you load into your backswing, you can have pressure, which would, as you call it, your center of pressure. We'll get into that a little bit more, but your pressure can be pushing down on any part of your foot, the toe, the heel, the ball of the foot, and then as you move move over to the left side and go through your left hip and the left side of your body stretches up, and that's part of the vertical force. I want to make sure that we can, simplify this and make it clear. So as you go into impact, that vertical force you see in all good players or long hitters, people that hit the ball a long way, and you don't see it in players who don't. So how long does it take? And I know the answer to this because I have 14 BodiTrak mats that I have in play right now. So I'm all in on the BodiTrak, and I love putting it up on the big TV. We can put it right on the mat. We can go right down to the front of the Trump National Corral, Jeff, and put a couple of mats out there. We have people go through. We can put them through in a very short period of time, and you can get. It's amazing how many people are hitting it off their right foot or shifting to the outside of their foot or shifting their weight towards their right toe or the backswing. So again, if we go back to vertical force, I really like people to understand this. Let's talk about even as you transition, you can push down more weight than you actually weigh. How do you do that?
Well, I mean, it's just gravity. You need to push off something. I mean, recently there's been a lot of discussion around Tiger Woods probably going to be looking at using forces as part of his training. It just makes sense because of his new coach.
Right.
But the forces that you're applying to the ground, I mean, you got to push off something, right, Jim? So you're gonna push off the ground because you can't push off air. And the interesting thing is to understand what is the right amount of force to apply to the ground at the right time. Now, I'm sure the listeners their eyes are rolling in the back of their heads. Well, look, if you're worried about where your hands are all the time, that's very confusing. But if you can just think about where your weight is during your swing, you can actually simplify the entire process. And I just got back from the World Golf Fitness Summer at TPI, Fitness Summit at TPI. And the buzzword is the linear forces are the catalyst for the rotational forces that lead to distance gain. And Jim, let's be frank, Jeff, let's be frank. This is all about distance gain and hitting the ball more consistent. I was just through Athens, and I sent Jeff earlier a picture of me with the boat. How about them dogs? And thanks for letting me send that to you. Yeah. And we were with a couple of touring coaches and Scott Hamilton and John Tillery, and they were telling me that their players are telling them using BodiTrak or just vertical forces to teach is putting feel back into the game. They're getting a feel where their weight is during key points during their swing. So I hope that answers part of your question.
I think it absolutely does, and it's just not. If we want to make it a little more technical, it's just not linear. It's just not side-to-side weight transfer that is being shown on BodiTrak.
Yes.
It's showing a lot of things in there, with COP probably being at the top of the list. But I am sure there's going to be a lot of callers calling in to try and understand what it is. But one thing also about BodiTrak, Jeff, is you'll like this, it's not expensive.
Yeah.
You can actually buy one, and that's not $100,000 for what you think it would be, because it is very sophisticated. You do, Jeff, I'm sorry to say, you have to hook it up to a computer, you need a television, but you can, I know you can do it. You can put it outside, you can do it inside. I know you're putting a new building in at the bridge, so you have the ability to go indoors and outdoors, which he's already mentioned, which Terry just mentioned. And all you need is a flat surface of grass, a teeing area, and you can hook it up right outside. That's what we did. Terry, you might mention what we did down here at Trump National Corral. Actually, you can just kind of give a little background on how you showed that to my entire staff.
Well, it was refreshing because Jim opened it with open arms. He let us come into his facility, and their entire team, Grayson Zachary and team, they allowed us to go in there. We put the mat down literally right on the tee deck, and before I knew it, guys were hitting balls. Jim brought a big monitor down to the tee deck, and I didn't really say too much initially. The guys just started hitting balls, and they just innately got it by looking at the numbers. And it shows your weight distribution from heel to toe, and on both sides of your both feet, and all throughout your swing. So the guys were fascinated by understanding at the top of the swing, if they had too much weight on their heel, for example, to get more upright, all they had to do was put more weight on their toes or become 50-50. And the teachers that Jim has got there are, you know, they're the elite. So they absolutely understood right away how they could use this information to benefit their students. And then later on, we put some students on, and just to see the interaction between the coach, the trainer, the instructor, and the student, to see how fast that the student grasps where their weight should be at the right time and hit the ball so much better. So the results were immediate. I mean, it was amazing what Jim was able to allow us to do there.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break here. We'll be right back to Golf School with Jim McLean and Jeff Warne right after the break here on Sirius XM PGA Tour Radio.
All right, guys, 3.5.
Hey, Jim.
Phone callers? Phone call?
We got Bill in Atlanta,
Okay.
305 number.
Hey, Jeff. Do you want to talk about, or Jim? Do you want to talk about who's using the BodiTrak, or is that not?
Okay. Absolutely. Who is using it?
Well, we've got Jason Carbone of Barkershaw, we've got Marion, we've got Congressional, we've got golf courses like Capilano in Canada, we've got, we've got